All right. Hi, everyone. I'm very excited to be here today and introduce you to Clif Lee, who's the Director of Corporate Solutions at TruGreen. Clif and I have worked together over the past fall and early into this winter on an autonomous AP project, and super excited to also report that they're recently live on this product. We've worked very closely together, gotten to know each other. Him and his team are excellent partners. And I'm so excited to be here today to chat with Clif just about TruGreen, their experience, what kind of company they are, background into what led them to go the autonomous AP route, and anything else he has to offer. So Clif, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah.
TruGreen is the nation's leading lawn care company. We provide lawn care, tree and shrub, and mosquito control services. TruGreen was founded in 1973 in Troy, Michigan, but has been part of a private equity firm for the last several years. TruGreen actually spun off from ServiceMaster in 2014. Since then, we have continued to grow through organic growth and acquisition. We purchased or merged with Scott's Lawn Service in 2016 and continue to grow. So we have about 2.23 million residential and commercial customers. We serve that customer base with about 15,000 employees. That's sort of our peak seasonal number. We have a peak season for our sales team and then a peak season again for our service team in the summer. We currently are at about 1.5 billion in revenue, and we have 260 locations in the United States and Canada. And we also have roughly 40 franchise locations, mostly in the Western United States. TruGreen is really a good company to work for. And even when I was at ServiceMaster, was really my favorite of the business units. So about me a little bit, I have my position is the Director of Corporate Systems at TruGreen IT. I do work with the finance organization. In fact, I used to be part of the finance organization. My career spanned 32 years now, I think. And I actually started in public accounting. And when I came to ServiceMaster, was actually part of the finance organization. So I've been in accounting and FP&A and then moved over into the IT organization. And I have the corporate systems team. So what I basically describe that is everything that doesn't directly touch the customer. And so part of that is our HR Workday systems. We also have all our financial ERP. And then that's where we ran across AppZen. At first is in the expenditure cycle. Our AP team, Mike and John, really first ran across AppZen in our P-card space, doing P-card audit. And my role is to continuously look for ways to consolidate platforms and work with my business partners to streamline the transaction cycles that we have, simplify the activities in those, and then remove any manual activities as we can. One of the things that we also have as one of our key strategic pillars as an organization is digital transformation. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. And that's really where the AppZen product came in for us. We had Mike and John, when they implemented AppZen on the P-card side, we had such a success with the audit of that that within 6 months, we were at a 95% automated transaction. So
it's fantastic. Wow. Yeah.
When we started talking about that, that's what led us to think about AppZen in the AP space. And again, then consolidating some of the platforms that we have there.
Great. That's a great background. And can you tell us a little bit about the structure of AP, and maybe obviously TruGreen is huge and it spans the country. The structure of AP and the structure of the local offices, and how you all work together today.
Well, we have more than 200 locations in the United States, and invoices do come into all of those. We have at one time we had some regional offices. I think there were about 16 of them that we had expenditure cycle people working in those for AP. And they also had invoices coming into those locations. So we had invoices coming to corporate, coming into our branches, and then also coming into regional locations. So a lot of that turned into scanning of documents and moving documents around, saving them, and somewhat of a cumbersome process, ultimately getting them into what was our approval software and for capturing the image and then routing for approvals. So, but because they came in from so many locations, we had, we have 260 people in our branches that spend some time in the expenditure cycle. And then we also had these region folks that do really a lot of the first step of the process for all of their locations that they supported. And so that's what led us to looking at the AppZen product.
Yeah. And you mentioned the digital transformation, the pillar at TruGreen. So, and I know you have great experience with our expense product, which is great to hear. Can you kind of talk to us about, how you brought the thought of maybe AppZen as part of the digital transformation for AP?
Well, when Mike and John first introduced me to the product, what we talked about doing was eliminating the manual capture of a lot of these documents. There's 2 or 3 different segments. One is just our standard non-PO invoices. That's our first phase that we're looking at. But we have several different other really channels that invoices go through, whether they're for POs or for our subcontractor payments, that we think the AI product is going to prove very valuable for us. So where we landed with AppZen is we're actually using the AI process to eliminate that first full step that was manual. And that was the process that was largely done by the people in those region offices, or they were responsible for regions, but they were part of the accounts payable team. And that was why Mike and John wanted to go after that. And so what we think we're going to do with that is we're going to use the AppZen product to capture the images. All of the scanning of documents will stop, and emailing of documents will stop. We'll route those directly to AppZen, where the images will be read. The first level of information that has typically been manually keyed by our group will now be processed through the AI engine. And the second step that we took in that, which really for us was a natural step, but really is more difficult, is to capture the geocoding. So we have, for whatever reason, a relatively complex chart of accounts. And so getting things coded to the right place sometimes is challenging. And on the back end, that creates a lot of work for reclassifications and things of that by the accounting team. So what we are looking to do with the AppZen product is to be able to, as it reads the documents and images, to reference the location data, the type of item on the invoice, and the supplier information to look in our transaction history and propose what the geocoding should be. Now, that sounds small in some cases, if you really don't know our process, but really that's a significant amount of manual work. And so by doing that, we think that it's going to eliminate a significant amount of manual activity and speed the process, increase the accuracy, because with the automation rate that we had in the expense audit, we think that within 6 months, we're going to have 85-ish% process automation in this case. And in fact, we went live this week, and in our first testing, we've had some that don't hit, but we've had several transactions that are 100% match already. So we're really looking forward to how that process learns over the next 6 months, because what that will allow us to do, not only to pull the manual work out of the process, but it gives us a better control in that then the transactions that are left to be done manually, it's a smaller subset where there's a higher level of risk. And so we can manage that better.
Yeah. No, you make such good points. And, throughout the implementation, I was always struck by how much you and your team really knew what you wanted going in, and you were aware of AI. And you're obviously a thought leader, group of leaders who, are thinking ahead. What made you all go with AppZen, a few years ago, and what's making you continue with AppZen? If you have to tell your CEO, what was your business case for wanting to go AI first?
Well, it really is that digital transformation pillar. It pulls the transactions out that are manual, simplifies the transaction cycle itself, not only through the elimination of steps, but it allows us to change what people have to do. One of the really the third phase that I look at for AppZen, we're doing, our project is 3 phases. First, we're doing non-PO invoices. The second phase will be PO transactions. For us, that's largely our chemical inventory. And we're really expecting that to be a high level of automation there, just because it is a PO match. There's so much more data to reference for the AI engine. And that will greatly reduce the manual work in the AP team for that then also. But the third thing is to use the AI engine to work for us in something that's with our subcontractor billings. And we haven't really talked a lot about this, but the way the AppZen product works to take a document that comes in, electronically sift through that, knowing with the scale of customers that AppZen has, it's not us trying to build something on our own. And also, because of the scale of customers that AppZen had, that you guys have, you're reading a lot more documents than even we have. So your AI engine has a better opportunity to learn than even we could give it. So as we move through this process, the third phase, that's the most complex document coming in for us that we have. And so we have to do 2 things in that area, in that we have to determine, has the actual service been performed so that we can bill it? And then the second thing is, how do we pay for it correctly? So then that's really just extensions of things we're doing in this first phase for the non-PO invoices. And as the AI engine learns our process and we get better at it as well, then we're just expecting to streamline a lot of this activity in the expenditure cycle.
Yeah. And I mean, you hit on everything that we feel is great about the product and great about the future of AI, automation, hands off, I'm so happy to hear that there's going to be so much, less manual touching of invoices. What other challenges, does your AP office face that makes you excited about using AppZen or just using machine learning in general? I'm sure there's some feedback already from the expense side of the house. So I'm sure they're going to share with your AP folks, what are some challenges that they're excited about with using AppZen?
I think that one of the things that John is excited about is, the invoices that we have come in through so many channels. And we even, because of these different commodities and different invoicing channels that we have, his team has to do invoicing in multiple products. So they have multiple tools to learn. They have, more complexity in the process because of that. And so where I think we're going to see a lot of value as we move on forward with this product is that we'll be able to automate a lot of that and consolidate the invoicing platforms that we have so that we can, get John's team working in one place so that it's an easier training effort for him, easier just on a day-to-day basis for the employees as they're doing their work.
Yeah. And from our perspective on the project team, TruGreen seems very excited. We're very excited for you. How's change management going using AI with expense? You've had some experience, and what are your plans, I guess, going forward with the AP product? Do you have the backing of AP behind you? How are you getting people excited about it and wrapping their heads around AI versus a human kind of touching?
Well, I'm fortunate in my business partners that I work with in that really they're pulling me along. So it's them wanting the AI in the transaction process, and
That's
we're
fantastic.
figuring out how to build the systems behind that to support it. And then how does that affect all of the other ancillary systems that they may be using in that product? So, their desire and their work toward that digital transformation, from their goals as well, that is really what led us here, and I think it will just continue.
Yeah, and that's fantastic, because I think, as you know, a lot of times what you see is organization, and there's nothing wrong with this, but fixing bits and pieces along the way versus looking at the big picture, which TruGreen obviously is. And just curious, with this digital transformation, what else does TruGreen have planned for the future for AP and expense operations? Obviously, AI is going to play a role in using AppZen, but curious about what other types of transformations your finance, AP, expense offices, what are you all looking to do?
Well, I think for us, it's consolidated purely from an AP perspective. It's really consolidating their platforms and eliminating a lot of manual effort in that process. The next thing we'll go after we hit the things I've already talked about, or maybe before actually, is our electronic invoicing, because there are some things that we still have manual intervention in some of our EDI transactions as well. Mm-hmm. And as we pull those platforms together, then we expect that where we're going to end up is that we'll run all of our transactions through the AppZen product. And that's where we'll do our exception management and any manual effort that has to be for changing a transaction will be done there. Because then if we do that process that way, the AI engine can learn when a transaction is changed, why it was, and then on an ongoing basis, the AI engine could do that, make that change for us, and remove that activity out of the process. So, but that's just strictly from an AP perspective. But there are a lot of things that I think we have an opportunity from an AI perspective to implement here at TruGreen. And we may try to push AppZen to do things outside of your normal purview or your normal effort. So
and we love to hear it. And I think Clif would agree. We had a great working relationship throughout the implementation. Anything you'd want to highlight? Any best practices, or I'm sure you all learned some things along the way as well. But I think from my perspective, it was great for you all to get in there and start validating and start to see, wow, this machine is pretty powerful. And like you said, even yesterday, the first day, seeing something run autonomously through is pretty powerful to know, wow, we didn't even have to touch that. So any tidbits we've been together for several months now, so any tidbits from your time with us?
I think your methodologies are good. I mean, the planning process went well. The engagement from your team, senior level to the project team, has been great. It actually was more than I expected on coming in. Mm-hmm. But again, I think that what we're seeing is that a lot of the reasons that we have decided to go down this path, we're saying that really that is to be the case. So because, like I say, some of our transactions on our first day, we had 100% hit rate. And so I was fairly surprised by that. Yeah. But again, that goes back to one of the earlier comments I made that, many of our suppliers, you're already reading their invoices. So you already understand what components of data are where in that document. And it's not something that as we add suppliers and it's someone that you're already using, that's not something that the AI engine has to learn on the front end.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why we're really expecting a fast uptick on that process automation.
Yeah, so are we. Well, Clif, it's been a pleasure speaking with you now, and I know we'll be meeting as the weeks come. But thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. You and TruGreen are truly valuable members of the AppZen family, and I hope everyone thinks of Autonomous AP when they see the TruGreen trucks in their neighborhood. And thank you again, Clif, for everything.
Thank you.